Welcome to this 1899 video. This is the latest show from the creators of Dark, one of my favourite shows of all time. Does it live up to that masterpiece? Well, stick around to the end to hear what I think of the show as we break down the ending to the trippiest show since, well, Dark, I guess. We find ourselves aboard a ship going from London to New York. Each one of the passengers have their own dark past on the trip, which explains things later on. Maura is shown to be in what looks like an asylum, but suddenly is on the ship and urged on by a letter from her brother. Now at the end, we learn that, well, every time Maura sees that she's in an asylum and then wakes up on the ship, this is the simulation that she's stuck in, being controlled by her brother, resetting. She is confused by what's going on, but things go from confusing to even more confusing as a missing ship has been found. And the captain is adamant he wanted to go and find out what happened to the ship and probably save the crew and the passengers. It reminded me of the movie 2002's Ghost Ship, as they went over to the ship, found it abandoned except for a small little boy named Elliot who was in a cupboard. They make the decision to bring him back over to the ship, but everything goes Pete Tong as they bring him back over. The crew start to lose faith in the captain as he comes to the decision that he wants to bring the ship all the way to London as opposed to leaving it there and going back to New York. Now, despite orders to sink the ship, he has burnt through far too much coal to carry on, so he's going to have to just turn back. However, we know that the reason they want to sink the ship is probably because Elliot was on there and could undo the simulation. Yeah, it gets trippy. But a mutiny starts to take place on the ship with the underclass Danes and security taking over the ship. But things get trippy here as they want to kill Elliot. He's blamed for the problems the ship faced as the death of the young girl and many others, but Elliot's thrown overboard. However, he manages to come back on the ship and finds Maura. Throughout the ship is different tunnels that Maura takes to go back to the asylum we saw. And this is the same thing that she mentioned, that her mother was senile and thinks that her father is behind all of this. She says how her father is the ship company's owner and also her mother became senile while her brother is missing. There are elements of truth to this, as the ship at the end, the spaceship, is presumably what her father actually owns. The twist comes hard and heavy as we learn that the man we've seen with Elliot is actually the husband of Maura, and we learn later that Elliot is Maura's son. It turns out that Maura and her husband's son Elliot was dying, or he was dead and she put his mind in there. Wasn't too 100% on that, but nevertheless, he's been put inside this simulation so they can, I presume, stop dying and they can live out their dream together. It's a bit don't worry darling as people with troubled pasts and terrible lives come in to try and survive and live out their dreams on this 1899 ship. The entire ship is a simulation, is littered with people who wanted to escape their traumatic past. That's why each person has been shown to have their own trauma, as we saw through the backstories of each one of these people on the ship. Maura has been trying to keep her son in the simulation and live with him forever. Throughout, it's mentioned that, we saw him have the bug and she was said that you got to let things go, but she doesn't there. However, it seems that Henry and others are stuck inside the simulation as well, and each of the memories are different sections of it. So her father is stuck on there, and they need the key that goes in the pyramid that Elliot had to get them out. However, the key does not work as Maura's husband had changed the code inside the simulation to try and get her to wake up without using the key. Now he's managed to stop the simulation reset, and she wakes up not on a boat but in a room that is the first simulation they ever created, a playroom there for Elliot. Each time Maura is caught by her father, her injection resets the simulation, which we saw at the start of this. So they are in a loop which they are trying to get out, but Maura is accused of wanting to stay in there forever so that she can live with her son and live a perfect life. Now, her husband has swapped over the pyramids and the keys. The one the father has is useless as we get the big reveal. her brother was the one controlling the simulation this entire time. We learned earlier that her brother was looked down on by her father, and she was the favourite, creating a sort of rift. The whole thing wasn't in a hospital, but it was actually on a spaceship this entire time. Each of the people we saw was stuck on a ship in real life, connected to the simulation in space, and it's called Project Prometheus. She then sees a card saying, "May your coffee kick in before reality does," which is words we saw earlier in the season. And there's a whole load of crew and passengers on board, but Kieran controls them all. So basically, the whole season was a loop which they were trying to escape, but Maura was accused of wanting to keep in there and keep her son alive and living with her in this fake reality. However, her brother has managed to control the simulation on this ship. There are many unanswered questions, such as what exactly is Project Prometheus? What is their end goal? Because we only saw this, we saw so many people on this ship. So what is happening with that? And why, if it's just simply to keep her son alive so she can live with him, why is there so many people on there? What's the end goal? And why has her brother turned on her and kept this ship alive and controlling it, keeping her father or their father in there as well? Overall, I love the show, but my issue with it is the fact that most Netflix shows do have a lot of filler, or not filler perhaps, but the big twist comes in like the final 2 episodes, and we've had a lot of stuff which was kind of inconsequential. However, I think that it was really well written here, and I think that everything we've seen so far is going to pay into next season. We are going to see these people for real, so the captain, the Danish people, the geisha as well, we're all going to see them for realsies and learn their real backstory, because these were all simulations, of course. So we're going to see what actually happened with them and why they're on the ship and how they're going to escape. Or will they escape? Or is this simply another layer of reality? Are we going through Inception, where different things and different layers they escape, but they're actually still dreaming or here in the simulation? That remains to be seen. But that is it for this video. Please drop a like down below. Do subscribe with notifications on if you want more from us. And I'll see you soon, and goodbye.